Hello and welcome back to Faith Evolving. Today we're going to be asking the question, why did God make girls? Why? So probably as most of you may know, or the reason why you clicked on this video is because you are familiar with the song God Made Girls by RaeLynn. God made girls. It's honestly catchy as hell. I thought that it was a recent song because I don't listen to a lot of country, but actually it was released in 2018 and the artist is a former NBC's The Voice contestant. I know it because it blew up on TikTok, especially within the context of this trend where people were doing their makeup and putting on outfits and becoming their Republican persona, and then Republicans dressed up as their like liberal persona, and then it kind of self-critiqued itself. People were like, hey, this is pulling on classist stereotypes. That's not cool. And it's since kind of died out. I'm a little bit late to the game talking about it, but I'm gonna do it anyway. It has a lot of just straight energy. And actually, one of my friends pointed out to me a lot of the lyrics, especially in the verses, could be seen as not about a girlfriend, but about a boy's mother. What the f is calling me? Hello? It's Freud. Not to mention the chorus. Implies that God made an entire gender for the pleasure of another to just look at and be like, I'm about to blow your mind. Look at this sexy, sexy body. You know, and that doesn't even scratch the surface of people who exist somewhere on the spectrum of gender and not necessarily female or male, but non-binary, or non-binary people who exist completely outside of that spectrum. Men who aren't attracted to women at all. Women who aren't attracted to men at all. People who are somewhere in the middle. People who have no attraction. I'm not like expecting RaeLynn to make this gay anthem. She doesn't seem like that kind of person. But I think the song itself really reveals a lot of the expectations we put on women from this whole idea of biblical womanhood. And I just see it like littered throughout this song, and it just kind of grinds my gears a little bit. It just gets me
Girl, what was that?
But damn, it's so catchy. And so I've listened to it so much, partially in like research for this video, and I'm so nervous that it's gonna appear on my Spotify Wrapped, and I'm gonna have to explain myself. But yeah, let's talk a little bit more about this biblical womanhood. Because I've mentioned on this channel before, I didn't grow up in like a super fundamentalist background, so I didn't get a lot of this expectation from the church. The first pastor I ever like notably had at my church was a woman, so I like saw a lot of women in leadership. My mom is a teacher, like almost all the women in my family were working. And so I just kind of had a lot of like positive female role models, so it wasn't that much of a thing for me. So when I think of biblical womanhood, I think of like the Marys, partially just because my name is Mary. But the stories that get the most attention, and there's way more men doing stuff in the Bible because it's patriarchal society that was written in by patriarchal people. In short, I either think of a lack of representation, or the people who are represented are really cool, strong people. So imagine my shock when I encounter the likes of like Girl Defined and Paul and Morgan and Mrs. Midwest and the Transformed Wife, and I'm like, what is this? I just get so confused. And the first thing I really saw kind of like really diving into women in the Bible was this book, Fierce by Alice Connor. And I wish I could like show a copy of the book like I usually do in videos, but I lent it to my friend Eva and she never gave it back. So Eva, give me my book back. It talked about named women in the Bible and unnamed women in the Bible, and it blew my mind. I loved it. The other big book that I read that was kind of tearing these things apart was, where's the book?
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
Hopefully I'm still in focus or I'm gonna scream. A Year of Biblical Womanhood by Rachel Held Evans. She grew up in kind of the purity culture, biblical womanhood thing, and she lives a year doing all of the things that the Bible says a woman should do. It just blew my mind, and it was so empowering. So I'm gonna really be utilizing this source And then, rather than my personal experience, things I've just heard from other more like conservative fundamentalist Christian channels. So I've condensed the main kind of messaging that this so-called biblical womanhood is into 3. We have submission, modesty, and purity. So submission. We have this idea that women need to be obedient and quiet. Oh, the helpmeet thing. You're meeting the help of your husband. Some of the most extreme manifestations of this submission messaging is the transformed wife, where she talks about how if your husband wants to have sex, just do it. And if he does it anyway, and you didn't say yes, it's okay. You know, that's God's design. Bro, what? In contrast, in the literal Bible, we've got Jael, who's just tent peg, and Judith, who like beheaded people. So they're in there, what about them? At the same time, Paul was writing the letters that has a lot of this stuff that we use to prop up this idea of biblical womanhood, rather than looking at the actual women in the Bible, was happening while his female colleagues were also spreading the gospel, like Phoebe, like the first deaconess. Gonna ignore that part? Sure, there's no ulterior motive of upholding patriarchy in that move, huh? Then we have modesty.
Hey guys, it's Kristen and Bethany.
They're often the poster faces for modesty. They have guides on how to dress modest. They have kind of like tutorials, little fashion tips and tricks and hacks on how to do all this, because you shouldn't lure men into lust. But we have all of this gunk that we have created, when in the Bible we have stories like Rahab, who was a prostitute, but she like was a spy to help the Israelites, and like Esther, who used her womanly charm to like marry this guy to save her people. I find it very interesting that these stories in the Bible and the advice in the Bible, often written by patriarchs, are condemning like this improper show, like a little shoulder action. Hopefully I don't get demonetized for that, but I am too small of a channel to make any money, so I don't have to worry about it, baby. You know what they say, more money, more problems. Less money, less restriction. YouTube can't do anything to me, except for maybe take my video down. But this leads into purity. This idea that if you have sex, you are like stained, and you're icky, and you're gross, and you're awful, which I find very, very fascinating, because there are so many stories in the Bible of like Tamar, who tricked her father-in-law into having sex with her so that she could have an heir, to Ruth, who's uncovering some feet, which is a euphemism for male genitalia, in order to get a husband and able to provide for her mother-in-law. And why I think we have condemned so much the sexuality, especially of women, is that for so long in a patriarchal society, the thing that women had as power to leverage was their sexuality. And if you can strip that from them as well, they have no power. And so this mindset persists, and it forces young women to marry fast in order to satisfy their libido, for people with a low libido to feel really, really good and great because they fit into purity culture really well. Abstaining from all this activity, that's a walk in the park, and then you find yourself in a marriage, and then you feel like there's this mismatch because now you have a low libido and maybe your partner doesn't, or you find out that you are some flavor of queer, or you aren't attracted to this man that you have now committed the rest of your life with, or you don't have any attraction to anyone ever. But now you have to be subservient to them forever. You rush into it, and even if you are heterosexual and cis, you don't get a lot of time to really decide, is this the person that I really want to kick it with for like decades? Is this gonna work out for me? And to bring it back to A Year of Biblical Womanhood, in it she talks about this notion of the Proverbs 31 woman, which apparently for most women or girls or people who were assigned female at birth is like very much so present in their mind if they, grew up in the church. I never even heard of the Proverbs 31 woman until this summer reading this book. But it's this like list of things, and it's a long list. First off, she's worth far more than rubies. If you were to sell all my body parts on the black market, I would probably be worth a lot more than just a few rubies. So yeah, I think that fits me. Her husband has full confidence in her and lacks nothing of value. I don't have a husband, so no. She brings him good, not harm, all the days of her life. Again, I don't have a husband. If we're gonna talk about my partner, I make fun of him a lot. So, also not that one. She selects wool and flax and works with eager hands. I can knit. She is like the merchant ships bringing her food from afar. I would say I have an adventurous palate, if that's what they're getting at. She gets up while it is still night. No. She provides food for her family and portions for her female servants. I am a single person, I have no family, and I barely provide for myself. She considers a field and buys it. Out of her earnings, she plants a vineyard. I am not a businesswoman. Unless if I get enough subscribers and then my channel gets monetized, then I'll be a businesswoman. So y'all, subscribe to help me truly become a Proverbs 31 woman. Don't you want me to not disappoint God? She sets about her work vigorously. Her arms are strong for her tasks. Oh, my arms are very weak. She sees that her trading is profitable and her lamp does not go out at night. I'm not big on Wall Street. Lamp going out at night. I am a night owl, but I don't have a night light. We're still just gonna go with no. In her hand, she holds the distaff and grasps the spindle with her fingers. I can kind of sew, so I'm gonna give it to myself. She opens her arms to the poor and extends her hands to the needy. I volunteer. I donate. When it snows, she has no fear for her household, for all of them are clothed in scarlet. I am in a climate where it snows, and I do own red clothing. She makes coverings for her bed. I don't make them, but I have them. I guess it doesn't count. No. She's clothed in fine linen and purple. Ho ho! Ho ho! I didn't even plan that. I'm wearing a purple sweater today. Her husband is respected at the city gate, where he takes his seat among the elders of the land. My partner, I'd say he's respected by his peers, but he's not on city council, so. She makes linen garments and sells them and supplies the merchants with sashes. I don't have an Etsy, so no. She's clothed with strength and dignity. She can laugh at the days to come. Yes. I do have a little canvas that I got from Hobby Lobby hanging above my bed back at home that has that on it. So I guess I really have been a Proverbs 31 girl all along. She speaks with wisdom and faithful instruction is on her tongue. Yeah, I have this YouTube channel. What about it? She watches over the affairs of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness. Absolutely not. I'm very lazy. Her children arise and call her blessed. Her husband also, and he praises her. The visceral reaction I had at her children. I'm just a kid still. I can't have kids. Many women do noble things, but you surpass them all. You know what? My partner should tell me that. I know he's watching, or at least his mom's watching, so tell him to tell me that many women do noble things, but I surpass them all, because honestly, my ego needs that. Charm is deceptive and beauty is fleeting, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. I'm not scared of God, but I do have a respect and a reverence for the divine, so got that one. So how'd I do on this acrostic poem? A failing grade? Great. This got me thinking, I can't live up to this ideal. There's gotta be so many other people that can't. And I was reflecting on what is it like to be a white, cis, Christian woman on a college campus. You can only write from what you know, and I know that. I just spent 4 years being that. So I was so inspired by God Made Girls that I decided to write my own song. Here it is.
The crocuses are poking through this dormant fertile ground. The sun shines bright as longer days keep coming all around. The pastor says, hey honey, looks like you're rotting out the cloud. Father Time and the throbbing of Mother Earth. If I don't find my perfect mate by the time I graduate, I can't live out God's soul design of 4 kids by 28. So give me that ring by spring, give me that Song of Solomon love. I'll be your Proverbs 31 queen, descend upon me like a dove. Won't care if it's Bradley from small group or even Tim from the worship team. Just give me a man that can lead and spill his seed for my Instagram feed. The storks are blotting out the sky, but my tears are flooding more. I need a nut to sweep me off my feet as this rain pours. 'Cause it's 2 by 2, not 1 by 1. I'm worthless without a mate. So Father, in your goodness, help me stay here as I wait. 'Cause I'm 21, I'm basically an old hag at this point. The ark is built, can't stand a man to set this boat afloat. If I don't find a perfect mate by the time I graduate, I'm not sure I can keep up with pretending that I'm straight. So give me that ring by spring, give me that Song of Solomon love. I'll be your Proverbs 31 queen, descend upon me like a dove. Don't care if it's snatching up the youth pastor, I'll even discount my dowry. Just give me a man that can lead and spill his seed for my Instagram feed. I'll be your helpmate.
Hi y'all, it's past midnight on a Tuesday. I'm incredibly unhinged and I forgot to film an outro. So big thanks to Anya and Alex and Elena for being my wonderful cinematographers and filming me when I could not film myself. And I guess I should probably try to answer the question I posed at the beginning of this video. Why did God make girls? Because God wanted to, because women. Big Joe March moment. But because all gender identities and expressions all reveal a part of God. You know, following the Imago Dei, that we are all image bearers of the divine, that yeah, women are pretty dope, as is everybody else. And also because with that Proverbs 31 woman, she's, you know, a woman of valor. But it just means it's a woman who's just doing a good job. And it's a way to say I'm proud of you. You're doing it. So women, just be strong and bold and spread love and hope and faith and all those good things. I feel like that's why God made you, to be a person. Now cheers to that. So like, comment, and subscribe. Leave down below. Why do you think God made girls? Huh? You, be a little theologian. I'm down for it. Also, a big shout out, thank you to all of the new subscribers I got for my collab with Jen. Hello, I see you. I'm grateful for you. Hi. Okay, bye. Next stop on my dumbassery of a life. My tripod broke.